What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Philadelphia police chief warns ICE that if you come with your mask harassing the local people, you will be arrested and identified. And I think it's important for state and local police to do this because you got to understand there is a separation of the federal government and state. And state governments have the right to police and manage their own affairs. And the federal government are not supposed to interfere in state affairs. And that used to be a big thing about the Republican Party, about, small government, government not overstepping or overreaching. Well, this Republican Party who used to, used to claim that they were all about limited government, has expanded the government to an unprecedented size and infused themselves on local issues in a way that we've never seen before. And I want you to watch this video because you're going to see the police chief of Philadelphia, a black woman, talk truth to power with her own power. And the reason why I wanted to do this video, because it's important, because even I get accused of this by some individuals. Y'all got to understand, I know we like to say, F the police, F law enforcement, F figures of authority, because when you look at the uniform, you're not actually looking at that human being, right? You're looking at that uniform, you're looking at that badge and what it represents, right? But the thing is, there are human beings behind those badges, right? There's human beings behind those uniforms, and those human beings have different perspectives of what law enforcement is. And I hear a lot of black people say, oh, don't join the military, because the people who run the military or the people who are controlling the military are racist organizations. Don't join the police force. If you do that, you're a coon, you're this and you're that. And I hear a lot of black people, right, say that because they're saying it out of frustration because they're used to looking at law enforcement as an opposition to them. But in fact, they need law enforcement because if something happens within their community, the first thing they're going to do is call the police. And they're hoping that the police show up. So we do need law enforcement. And we do need black people to be in law enforcement. We need black people to be in the military. You got to understand, it's a lot of the times you got to understand, it takes the black person in the military to stop that white person in the military from doing something that they shouldn't have done. It takes that black police officer, right, to be in charge of getting positions of authorities to stop certain white supremacy policies that usually permeates throughout these traditionally slave catcher-esque white police departments, right? It takes black females and black males to infiltrate these police departments, whether it be federal, local, state, to infiltrate these private contracting security companies, to infiltrate these government security companies, to infiltrate these military branches in order to get in position to change the policy, right, as we see fit once we get put into positions of control. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people alive today because there was a black man or a black woman who was in positions of control. Not all the time are police professionals able to stop the corruption within the police department or the military because, white folks, white, fat, bald men and their insecurity still control shit, right? But in fact, black people are some of the best law enforcement officers in the world. Black African Americans and whoever, black people who join the military, and we're some of the best law enforcement professionals in the world. We're some of the most effective, lethal, and capable and trained military personnel in the world, right? And we need to be a part of those institutions. You can't disengage from the military and police process and then complain about the military and police process. You can't say you want change but not willing to get involved into the institutions to make that change, right? Sitting back and saying F the police and cussing out every black police officer or black security officer or black military personnel because you feel some kind of way about the white people who traditionally has used those institutions as weapons against us, that's asinine. It's unproductive, and it does nothing, because sitting back complaining doesn't mean anything, because the white power structure doesn't care about your complaint. They don't care about you talking about calling them pigs. They don't care about you crying and whining. You have to physically do something, and the only way to do that is to join these institutions and change the culture. A lot of you guys need to understand the reason why a lot of police officers don't get held accountable is because of the union, the police union, right? I used to be a part of these unions. I understand how strong unions are and how they can stop the police department from disciplining unruly law enforcement personnel, someone who abuses their power. The union, you got to understand, is a very silent institution that's bigger than the police department. The police unions is what we need to focus on. And we need to, honestly, to be honest, I honestly think, and it can be controversial, I think the police unions need to be broken up. Because of that, now they're there to protect they're there to protect the law enforcement professional. They're there to do that, but in my experience, not one union I've been a part of has ever protected me. All they've done is taken my union dues and spend it on massive conferences where rich people who are in cahoots with the corporation go out there and have a good time on the dime of those who are working for those corporations or departments, right? I think law enforcement professionals, right, who are trained to use their weapons in certain situations, I think they should be held at a different standard, and they should be held accountable. Every bullet, I've always been trained that every bullet is a court case. You have to be able to explain and justify every round that comes out your weapon, right? And clearly, these ICE agents who are not professionals, you got to understand, these ICE agents, federal law enforcement, what Donald Trump has done, he has upended the qualifications to get into these law enforcement departments. It used to be very hard to get to be a part of ICE. It used to be very hard to be a part of these federal police departments because they are very good jobs. If you are a law enforcement professional, you want to become a federal police officer. It's the sweetest gig in the world. You get lots of autonomy, you get lots of benefits, and and it's usually reserved for those who deserve it, who spent lots of time in state and local and improving themselves to be worthy of having that type of position. But now Donald Trump has hired Diddy Dottie and everybody who's unqualified and just wavered through all the safeguards and allowed all these fat, bald white men who want to push white supremacy, and they want to have a badge to be able to enforce their white supremacy ways, to join ICE. So right now we have the new slave catcher troops. Back when they after slavery, they actually forced white males to join the slave catcher troops. You had no choice. You had to be a part of the police department, right? That they call it now. It's called the police department now, but before it was the slave catching troops. They forced, each community had to give up their boys, and they had to be a part of the apparatus of the police department to round up Africans in various different manners. You got to understand, this is part of the culture of white America, to use white men, the middlemen, who rich white men don't care about in the first place. You use them as the tools of their white supremacy. And they're being used now, and we're watching it, right? And it's up to good law enforcement to fight back. It's up to good law enforcement to say enough is enough. Police officers also can be arrested, and that's what needs to happen. Federal law enforcement can be arrested, and if a federal police officer gets arrested by a state police officer, he has to face state charges, and no federal official can upend those charges. No president, no vice president, no Department of Homeland Security personnel can clear a person of state charges. That's the great thing. So we need our state police departments to start policing these federal officers when they come into town. And we need our governors and mayors to step up on the state level and fight against the tyrannical federal government that we currently have now. This is literally what the Second Amendment was for. When you have a tyrannical government, right, we're supposed to take arms against that tyrannical government. If there was ever a time for civilians to take arms, and I'm not suggesting that you do this unless you're protecting yourself, if there was ever a time to utilize your Second Amendment right as a civilian to arm yourself, to protect yourself from these white men in masks who you don't know if police officers or not, this is the time to do it. So if you are a civilian, you need to get armed and you need to protect yourself from these, because clearly the person that's in the White House right now and the vice president, J.D. Vance, the coward, the person that should have his Eagle Globe and anchor stripped from him. He's a disgrace to the United States Marine Corps. He's a disgrace to the military, disgrace to America. He's a disgrace to humankind. J.D. Vance, who will never be the president, even though he thinks he's going to be. He'll never be the president. This guy gave immunity. He's basically told us, he put a battery in the back of all these fat, bald, out of shape, piece of shit ass white boys who want to promote white supremacy with that badge. He told them they have immunity. So if that's the case, you have a duty. You have a duty to protect yourself. You have a duty to your family, to your community, to keep yourself alive and to protect yourself from those people. I'd rather go to court and deal with why I discharge my weapon in self-defense than allow a fat white dude from Texas to come across country and shoot me or shoot one of my people in my community because some piece of shit gave him the right to do so. And we need to respect our black law enforcement officers and stop seeing all of them as coons, because not every one of them are coons. Some of them are fighting a good fight. Not only are they fighting a good fight against white supremacy within the police departments that they are a part of, but they have to deal with the black community that look at them as part of that white supremacy that they're also fighting against. And they also have to deal with the fact that white supremacy within the police department will hold back the career, will sabotage the career of a black person who dares to fight against that white supremacy. So please give respect to your law enforcement, your black law enforcement officers, your black police officers, your black military personnel, because they're fighting a fight on 2 or 3 different battlefields on the behalf of the black community. And sometimes, like I said, they're the only reason why certain people make it out of certain situations in law enforcement or military action. Anyway, without further ado, check out what the Philadelphia police chief had to say to Donald Trump's administration. She's not playing. And like she said, y'all want smoke? She got it for you. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Now, this is the type of moral clarity we need to see with people standing up against the Trump regime. And it's good to see law enforcement in cities across the country speaking like this. I want to see more people speak like this. This is in Philadelphia. It's Philly's Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. And here she says, look, if you do this in Philly, we're going to arrest you. You come here with your masks and you start harassing our people, you will be placed under arrest. You will be prosecuted. This is what moral clarity looks like. Let's play it.
Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Bilal, the sheriff for the city and county of Philadelphia. And I say her name, Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. This should not have happened, but we're here today. Let know that law enforcement professionals, real ones, not the fake made up ICE, probably Trump's new army to attack citizens of the United States. Did you hear what I said? No law enforcement professional wears a mask. None. None. Those that come into our communities wearing a mask to commit crime, thank God for our district attorney, Larry Krasner, who say he's going to lock them up. And I'm saying now, we are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested there. No whisk away for them to hide you. None of that here. None of that here. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying fleeing, because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way. Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles invoking an action that is illegal. No, we don't. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you. And the fake, whatever they call them, because I can't say the name, but the criminal in the White House would not be able to keep you from going to jail. Renee Good should be here today. And to her family, we are saying law enforcement professionals are not the ones here in this city that would do that. But here's the last thing that I will say. Law enforcement professionals around the country do their job, and we have been fighting for years to build that bridge between us and our communities. You have one negative nutcase that causes this problem, and now we all have to fight again to let people know law enforcement works with communities. These crimes would not be down if we didn't have communities work with us. Thank you.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.